Race 2 of the weekend in Fanatec GT2 European Series is not far away here at the Valencia circuit. Cars making their way round onto the grid, and in about 20 minutes time we will be racing with the grid based on a separate qualifying session from yesterday morning. We've had quite a lot of rain this morning. Now, it has stopped in the last 20 minutes or so. It is not yet dry, and therefore tyre choice, I would think, is going to be interesting on the grid. Gemma Scott down there, David Anderson trackside, but what people elect to start on will be interesting, and then they've got to try and nurse that to the pit window, which is between 25 and 35 minutes. Yesterday's race turned out to be a rather quirky one because we had a rather lengthy red flag because we'd had oil put down by the Porsche driven by Mantas Janavicius, and so the stoppage reduced all the gaps between the cars. They had effectively one racing lap and then the pit window opened. There is the Porsche that developed incontinence yesterday. Mantas Janavicius on track at the start of yesterday. Aurelius Rustica will start the race today, having not got in the car yesterday because of its retirement. Now, 87, the Mercedes won yesterday. Jean-Luc Bobelic and Ludovic Badet. Ludovic Badet will start, but that car now gets 10 seconds extra in the pit stops, which are 116 seconds regulation stops anyway. And then you add on the 10 seconds for the winning car, 7 seconds to the championship leaders, Henri Hassad and Anthony Beltoise, and 5 seconds go to Mauro and Boltzmann Ricci. In the AM contest, 10 seconds to Klaus Angerhofer and Sedi Simani. 10 seconds also to Jan Krabec, who was second yesterday, 7 plus effectively because he's a solo driver, so he gets an extra time penalty for being a soloist, and then 7 seconds for Leonardo Gorini. So yellow flag shown as the cars come up to the grid. 12 cars for our GT2 race, and let's just have a look back at what happened yesterday. I've touched on the fact that Mantas Janavicius had some big dramas, and it caused dramas for those around him. It did make life very, very spectacular for a while. There is the Porsche that did this. You can see the liquid pouring out of the car. In the background, Leonardo Gorini discovered it and spun, and then Janavicius got as far as turn 12 when he had a big old wobble, slithered off the road. This was the car hitting its own oil. Off he went, big slide, big save, but look at all the liquid gushing out onto the road, and that made it very treacherous indeed. So we had cars slithering off the circuit behind him, and he carried on for another half a lap until eventually it ran dry. Others caught it. That was Peter Gulinks going rally crossing out through the gravel. Jean-Luc Bobelic caught the oil and had to slow as he got the car back under control, and eventually it was Hubert Trunkenpoltz who caught the oil, slithered off into the gravel, and he brought out a red flag. So cars making their way to the grid. Gemma Scott is down on what one hopes is a drying circuit. We'll get the thoughts of the drivers and also the thoughts of Stefan Rattel, who is in this race. He's with Gem.
Stefan, great to see you once again. It's been a while since we had a chat, actually, but down here on the grid, GT2.
Been a busy season.
Yeah, it has been a busy season. You don't stop.
Especially when I try to drive in addition of the rest.
But the smile on your face says it all. You must be really enjoying being back behind the wheel.
Yeah, it wasn't for 20 years, so it's not easy, you know. Especially I'm not getting any younger, so no, but it's fun. Especially this GT2 grid is, you know, people around my age, most of them younger, and no, we're having a lot of a very good time, and it's a category I think has a great future, even if the grid remain at a low level for the time being. With 12 cars we can't be happy, but now the Mercedes start to be delivered. We have the Maserati joining at the next race of Paul Ricard, and we will see, I'm sure, more of them as the time passes. So no, I'm confident.
Is that one of the objectives of this championship, to see the mix of age with drivers?
Yeah, it's to complement. You know, we have GT3, we have GT4, and GT2 is for something else. You know, I think none of the drivers on this grid. I know none of the drivers on this grid would be either in GT3 nor in GT4 in that event. So that's great. That creates a third grid with a different environment, and that's what is interesting for SRO.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a great weekend so far. Yesterday's race was quite exciting.
Yeah, we had even a red flag. I didn't do well, but I hope to do better today.
Well, we'll let you get back to your race. We did see you celebrating yesterday.
Yeah, no, but it's the important, as I said, is to have fun. And we're having fun, and and in addition of a great meeting, because the GT3 race was great, and I think this one today is going to be even better.
Absolutely, I can't wait to see all the racing throughout the day. Tk you very much, enjoy this session, and hopefully we'll see you at the end.
Thank you, for sure.
Thanks, Stefan.
Bye-bye.
So Patron walks up the grid to go and find Matteo Di Giusto, who is starting 6th on the grid. There is yesterday's runner-up, Henri Hassad. He will do the second stint in the car started by Anthony Beltoise. A decade or so ago, these two teamed up to win the French GT Championship, but now, as they are a little greyer and enjoying GT2 racing together, they're still winning races and leading the championship. Porsche's at the back of the grid then, with Aurelius Rustica in the black Pseudo Martini colours, Leonardo Guarini alongside. The cars both run by the Italian EB Motors team that's been another mainstay of Stefan Rattel grids over the years. And looking down onto the grid, you see the Audi of Peter Gulinx and Stinus Langin. Let's go to Nicholas Salins next, 4th on the grid with Gemma.
Nicholas, you and I were talking a little bit earlier on in the pit lane about tyre choice today. The track's still wet, but the sun's pretty hot, and this is going to dry out quite quickly. What's your thinking here? Is slicks or wets? What's the tyre choice?
It's a good question. Officially it says wet race, but you can see the sun is there, so the track will dry up, but it's still quite wet. We just spoke to our co-driver. He said it's very tricky in the sector 2 and in sector 3, but I see all the top 4 cars are on slicks. So I think everybody will go for slicks, but it will be tricky the first few laps, I think. We will see.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, if you start on wets, you're going to lose so much more time in the pit stops, right?
Yes. So we cannot lose more than 10 seconds per lap, because to get in the pit and to change the tires, we need about 1 minute. So in 6 laps, it's 60 seconds. So it's very important that we don't lose too much time with slicks. So it's a gamble. So we will see.
Well, let's see if that gamble pays off, and
Yes.
Down into that first corner will certainly be interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you
a good one.
Thank you very much.
Wet track, wet race like this, tyre choice critical. I've got to say, it doesn't look like it's going to get wet again, because the cloud has broken. It is getting hotter and sunnier and warmer, and therefore the track drier. Lots of fans here already, and more fans on their way to see GT2, to see GT3, and also Lamborghini Super Trofeo that races this weekend, and the very popular local Vol Race initiative, which is a sort of drifting come track day, come show and shine element of motoring, and that brings lots of hot hatches and performance cars to the circuit as well. Yesterday's winner, Ludovic Badet, and he's not raced for a while, been busy in karting, running kart teams, but he teams up with his old mate, Jean-Luc Bobelic, and they had a race win yesterday by 3.5 seconds, starting 5th on the grid here. And although that might not necessarily sound all that good, 3rd row, I don't think it's a true reflection of what Ludovic Badet is capable of. Now that he's had a bit more mileage in that car, probably a little bit more confident, and certainly a good job done yesterday. His co-driver is Jean-Luc Bobelic, and this may have to be in French, but he's with Gemma, yesterday's winner.
Jean-Luc, the smile was still there this morning from yesterday's success. Sunglasses are still on. Feeling good ahead of this race?
Well, for me, it's exceptional. First race with Ludo, and we win. First race for the car.
Yeah.
All exceptional.
Absolutely, and a great team with Acadis. They've got so much experience racing in GT4 and GT3 as well.
I think it's just a chance only, because I'm old pilot, old driver. It's necessary. All different category, I win.
It's a fantastic weekend. Thank you very much. Have a great race. Let's go for a little walk and see if we can have a quick chat with Jimmy Plough back here, who's with the Acodis team. We've been chatting to Mauro Ricci. Jimmy, can we have a quick chat?
Yeah, sure.
How are you doing?
All good, thank you.
So you're having a chat with Mauro Ricci, giving him a bit of help and a bit of guidance under the Acodis team?
Yeah, some information, because the GT3 quali was just before, so we said some advice around the track, but yeah. But I think it will be tricky with that car on this condition, but let's see. But I think the slick tires is the good option to start the race.
Is there certain parts of the track that are trickier than others?
Yeah, I mean, it's really powerful, this car, you know, so it's really difficult in this condition to put it on the floor, so let's see. But he's a good driver, so I think we can make the difference like that.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Thank you.
Busy driver Jim Plough. He will do the GT3 race stint 2. He will also be on the Lamborghini Super Trofeo grid. There for True Racing is the KTM. one of the many that you find from the True Racing squad. Hans Reiter operating these cars, and with a slightly futuristic up and forward bodywork, no doors as such. You push up and then push forward that big chunk of bodywork, almost like a sports prototype car more than a GT car in the conventional sense, but performance per pound, they're great value, and they've had a lot of success both in Pro-Am and Am hands. But it is the Audi of Anthony Beltoise on pole position. There is number 69, Jan Krabac's car, looking a little bit further back on the grid. The Am class car. And Jan Krabac, who is enjoying quite a good season, in fact. Third yesterday, second in the championship. And let's, as we wait for the build-up, go back to the grid and Gemma.
Jill, this isn't your grid particularly, but you're here hanging out with the team. Talk to me.
Yeah, I actually drove for them the 24 hours older. We won together, so I know the team quite well. I know the guys, they're also Belgians. And yeah, I love to see the GT2 cars. The Audi looks amazing. Also the yellow livery, I love it. So it's quite clear who I'm supporting. But no, it's nice to see. Nice cars, nice grids, and I hope my friends, my Belgian friends do great.
And with GT3 being on track just now, able to give them a little bit of advice?
Tricky conditions. It doesn't dry very quickly here, although it's quite hot. So yeah, I advise them to start on wets, I would say, but I see they're on slick, so
they didn't take that advice then.
No. It looks like they'll know better what they're doing. So.
Thank you very much. Enjoy watching.
Thanks.
See you later.
So there is the Audi of Peter Gullings and Stinus Langin, whose father Bert Langin we saw in this championship last year, but also go back over a decade or so, was a regular in the FIA GT Championship. There's number 16, Stefan Rossini, as a start today. And he will no doubt be very rapid in that opening section of the race. Klaus Angerhofer and Sedi Samini, yesterday's Am winners, championship leader Klaus Angerhofer, second win of the season. And the grid then just about formed. We'll get the 1 minute board in a moment. It'll be a rolling start, of course. And then at the end of that, they will be in business. Hopefully, it will be a tidy start. Yesterday, they ended up having to do an extra formation lap within the time because it was an untidy start. The race director was unhappy with it, and so they went round again. But as long as the cars are all lined up, as they should be in that Noah's Ark 2x2 formation, not coming out of the line and being away from the grid lines, then it should be good. So doors open, a bit of air still getting into the cars. They're very hot, these cars, especially for the driver who sat in them with the heat soak even early in the morning here. Temperatures going up and up and up all the time. We've had quite a number of drivers duck in and out of the championship over the year, come and have a look and see what they think about it. And for example, the Primatelio family from Lamborghini have come and had a race, and thinking about maybe doing the championship next year. It goes to some very nice circuits this year. Monza to the Red Bull Ring, then Dijon to Portimao, Valencia, and then Paul Ricard to round out the season as part of a traditional French GT weekend in late October. So they're the grid ready to go. Engines fire at the 1 minute board, the doors will close, the grid is cleared, and the rolling start ready to get underway. So we know that the first 4 cars on the grid are on slicks. What we didn't quite get to the bottom of was what the Mercedes is on. Maybe Gemma can go and investigate from Jean-Luc Beaubelic what they've put the car on for Ludovic Badet to cope with. I would imagine it's going to be slicks because the road is going to dry quickly as long as you can keep out of trouble over the first few laps. And like Nicolas Salins was saying, you can't afford to hemorrhage too much time because it's a long pit stop to change tyres. So I would envisage that they've gone for slicks on the Mercedes, but we'll try to double check that as the cars in a moment will be released. So the 15-second board shown. The leading car becomes the pace car. That will accelerate away. And then on instruction, the cars will be released. So the race control team, race director Alain Adon will give the call. Away goes the leading car, the pace car, and now everyone blasts away behind. So you've got then Anthony Beltoise on pole position in the Audi with Reinhard Koffler starting alongside. Now that car, the green and black KTM, especially when Koffler got into it yesterday, was very quick indeed, but they got the pit stops wrong. And so the net result was that they brought the car in just before the window was open and had to do an extra pit stop, the regulation stop again. Cost them a lap. So Beltoise starts on pole, Koffler alongside him. Longin starting third from Rossina, then Badet and Di Giusto on the third row of the grid. Ricci Jr., Benjamin Ricci, a race winner this year, he is on the fourth row with the 125 and 250cc World Motorcycling Champion Dani Pedrosa for company. Then you've got Jan Krabec, the soloist AM, alongside Sedi Samini, another soloist AM, Leonardo Guarini and Aurelius Rustica round out the grid. Now, Sedi Samini facing the wrong way, so he, having dropped to the back, ought to start at the back rather than make his way through the pack. So the car's now heading up towards turn 6. The two Mercedes, we understand, also on slicks. And inevitably, once a team sees others go that way, you kind of think, well, I've got to do it and cover off what they're doing. Sedi Samini then, as I say, after that spin we've just seen, having fallen to the very back, should stay there rather than wriggle his way through. One or two drivers looking a bit concerned about the track conditions, but it is getting better and better and better all the time. The rain that we had an hour and a half or so ago hasn't returned, which is good news. So the car's ready for 50 minutes of racing. Make the run now down to turn 9. We've got that little flick through 9 and 10. Turn 11 comes next, the right-hand hairpin that loops you back round. Again, the Valencia circuit, like many modern tracks, a bit of a paperclip really. You've got this almost rectangle of land and you cram as much of a circuit as you can with these switchbacks and, like I say, paperclip style aspects to it, a bit like Ossersleben, a bit like Snetterton has now become as well with that infield with lots and lots of corners. Right, the KTM of Samini has stopped now over at turn number 10. So just going into that previous corner, the KTM has stopped. It's now got going, but he's going to have to start at the back now because it's fallen a long, 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 long way adrift of everybody else. So the drivers get themselves side by side. Mathieu Di Giusto, number 88, the car that he shares with Stefan Rattel. Ahead of him, Ludovic Badet in 87, Mercedes, the Codis ASP entry. This is the view on board with Ludovic Badet, former Formula Renault turned Ferrari GT racer. And as the cars now come down to turn 14, we are just about set to go racing then. Creeping ever so slowly up towards the line, the lights on red. Yellow flags still shown on the gantry. And are we going to get a start? We're not. The pace car goes round again. Oh no, it does come in late, so the safety car jinks to the pit lane, lights on the gantry red, and an extra formation lap is being shown. So an extra formation lap on the lighting gantry. So the green flag shown on the timing screen, which starts the clock, and they have to go round yet again. So whether that is because of the KTM being in a bit of strife at the back, or whether it was because the race director felt the start was untidy, we'll check. But either way, they go round once more. Mauro Ricci watches on. So this eats into the 50 minutes of racing for the drivers, but the extra formation lap given by race control. And Jan Krabec is off the road coming out of turn 1, and that is at a very slow pace under effectively controlled conditions. The wet gravel compacts, he's able to dig himself out of it and then puts himself to the back of the queue. So now, you know when you say you can't overtake under the safety car, well, we don't have a safety car. It's an extra formation lap, and the cars will be controlled by the front row when they get to turn 14. But if someone throws themselves at the scenery, there's not much you can do apart from go past. So Krabec puts himself to the very back of the pack now. And this is lap 1 of the race because of the fact that the clock has started. So up they come. It eats into the time, and the drivers then now coming to turn 6, Ludovic Badet. You can hear sort of urging the car forward, trying to get some warmth into the tyres, into the brakes. Licking the throttle, urging the car forward onto the tail of Stefan Rossina. Ludovic Badet at the helm of the Mercedes that won yesterday, and for that gets an extra 10 seconds in the pit stops. So whatever he does in this stint needs to be quick, needs to be brave, and needs to get him up the order. That part of the circuit, just coming down the hill, turn 8, 9, that still looks quite greasy, whereas other parts of the racetrack look a lot better than they have done all day. So the drivers now, again, put themselves towards turn 10, turn 11. Ludovic Badet in a moment will put himself alongside the Audi of Mattia Di Gusto on that third row. And so there Reinhard Koffler's KTM comes to the outside line, the MZR Motorsports Zentrum Ried entry. In the sun is Jean-Luc Beaubelic, Mauro Ricci alongside him. And so hopefully this time we will be in business then. The lights on the gantry are red. This will be the end of lap 1, but it will be officially getting the race underway. So the field now turning out of turn 13, drop down the hill. And Reinhard Koffler will be one to watch off the start, no question about it, because he's always been a rapid driver. So up towards the timing line they come. And this time around, I think we should be in business. We are. The green lights go on. The race blasts away. And so Anthony Beltoise converts pole into the race lead. And up the inside line, look, goes Ludovic Badet in the Mercedes to try to get alongside the Audi of Stinus Langevin, which he does, gets through. It's all a little bit tight, but they wriggle their way by. Langevin gets forced out wide as Gulix, his co-driver, did yesterday. Look at this, Ludovic Badet, 5th on the grid. He's going to be in the lead by turn 2. Really brave stuff on a greasy road. And Ludovic Badet puts the Mercedes up the inside of the Audi, which in turn gets crowded. Slow off the corner, so Badet leads. Up into second place goes Koffler. Now up into second place goes Langevin in the yellow Audi. Up into 4th is Benjamin Ricci. Badet goes wide down at turn 4. And Anthony Beltoise, didn't really see what happened to him at turn 2, but he's been shuffled back in the pack as a new race leader is Stinus Langevin now, who goes ahead of Ludovic Badet. So Langevin on a mission. Up they come out of turn 6 for the first time. Reinhard Koffler in the KTM on the inside of the Mercedes of Ludovic Badet now. Onto the power. Back of the cars all twitching, tails wagging as the drivers try to apply the throttle. And up the inside line comes the blue Mercedes of Benjamin Ricci. Down towards turn number 9 they will come in a moment. But out of 8, first of all, where it's still greasy offline, Koffler goes wide. Ricci up the inside. The bloomer goes through. So Benjamin Ricci there, again for Acodis ASP, moves ahead. And Anthony Beltoise, son of Jean-Pierre Beltoise, under attack. Former BRM Grand Prix racer Jean-Pierre Beltoise and his son, a triple Carrera Cup France champion, double French GT champion, but really has been dealt a bad hand of cards on this first lap, falling back in the pack. Stefan Rossina now moving ahead of him as well. Mattia Di Gusto next in the queue, and in the rear of the pack, Sedi Sarmini trying to recover after his dramas earlier on. The start of number 89, Jan Krabec, under investigation. So Jan Krabec being looked at possibly for dropping into the gravel on that extra formation lap. As the leaders go by then, so it is Stinus Langevin ahead of Ludovic Badet by 0.7 of a second at the end of the first proper racing lap as they drop down towards turn 1. In third place, Benjamin Ricci, then in fourth spot, Reinhard Koffler. Stefan Rossina is in 5th place, and then 6th is Anthony Beltoise trying to play catch-up as the leaders accelerate their way now. Out of turn 2, Ludovic Badet staying with Langevin, not letting the Audi escape as they ran up to the bottom of the hill into turn number 4 now. The yellow Audi from the PK Car Sport team, entered by Anthony Cooper. That's the lead car, and then the Mercedes of Acodis ASP next in the queue. 0.7 of a second being the margin when they came across the line. And here, the road getting a little bit drier. The more cars that circulate, of course, the drier it gets. Out wide goes Mattia Di Gusto in the Audi, and round the outside line essays to go Leonardo Guarini, and he does move through. Back on board with Badet, then accelerating downhill. Brakes hard for turn 11, turns into the hairpin. And now powering his way out the other side with, in third place, Benjamin Ricci, doing an absolute best first sector. So Ricci getting up with the race leaders, and he's actually dragging Reinhard Koffler along with him. So 3rd and 4th, looking good. In 5th place behind them is Stefan Rossina, and then in 6th place, Anthony Beltoise, as the cars again drop down now into turn 14. Leader over the line. So Longchamp from Bardet. The gap down again, 0.4 of a second. And Benjamin Ricci, third, fastest man on the circuit. Now he's done the quickest lap of the race. He's getting ever closer. Out of turn one they go. What's going on in the AMP contest? There's the leader, Leonardo Guarini in the Porsche. But look at this for the race lead. Three of them pretty much as one as they head up towards turn two now. Audi, Mercedes, Mercedes. Longchamp from Bardet from Ricci is the order. Reinhard Koffler in fourth place. Stefan Rossina in fifth. And Anthony Beltois sixth, not being able to respond. I just wonder whether he picked up any damage at the start when he had that brush with Bardet going into turn two. Here is Ludovic Bardet making his move for the race lead, but he's on the outside line at 7. He goes all the way around the outside, and it might just work. Let's see. Through on the inside comes Ricci for the race lead.
Overtook cars during the finish.
Benjamin Ricci through into the lead of the race. He managed to make the best of the traction coming out of turn 6, turn 7. Through he goes, drops down towards turn 8. He's done it, he's in the lead. Jan Krabec being given a drive through for overtaking cars on that extra formation lap after he'd been in the gravel rather than staying at the back of the queue. So a drive through for Krabec, but another race leader, and it is Benjamin Ricci. So bearing in mind that that car started 7th on the grid, it's been a very impressive push so far in the race, and Ricci having got ahead of Bardet now aims to try to stretch that margin. While all that's been going on, Reinhard Koffler is up into third at the expense of Stinus Longchamp, who led onto this lap. He's now down into fourth place. So does the Audi have a problem? Or is this purely that Longchamp is being a bit more cautious on a greasy road? Well, the pace just is not there, is it? Because having lost out to Koffler, he's being caught by Rossina as they come over the line. So drive-through penalty for Jan Krabec. You'll get the message. The black KTM, which is in 10th place, will have to serve that within 3 passings, and in fact he's doing it right now. So Jan Krabec gets it out of the way. Good on him. There going through is Mattia Di Giusto. He's got Danny Pedrosa behind him. And this is the lead situation in increasing levels of sunshine now. Benjamin Ricci with the track drying and getting faster all the time, leading Ludovic Bardet. So then you bear in mind the pit stops, where the car of Beaubelic and Bardet will have 10 seconds extra, and it will be 5 seconds extra for the Riccis. So again, they should still be able to maintain track position after the pit stops. Now, Stinus Longchamp dropping away. We were told earlier the top 4 on the grid were on slicks, but it does give the impression that there is a problem, like they may have elected to go on wets and they're just giving up the ghost. And he's lost another place there to Rossina. So he is on slicks, as we were told at the start of the race, and therefore there's a bigger problem, isn't there, for Stinus Longchamp now. Somebody that was able to get himself into the lead on the opening lap, now falling away. There's something not right. So there are the leaders, with Bardet coming back at Benjamin Ricci, but the danger is Reinhard Koffler behind them, because he is on a very quick lap indeed. Koffler getting faster and faster. Race winner this year with the co-driver Martin Koch, the Swiss driver. There is the Austrian Reinhard Koffler. Out wide goes Ricci, big slide. Bardet takes over the lead. Koffler will go second. Over the line, the KTM, good through the corners, but has it got the drag in a straight line? There's more grunt coming from the Mercedes. He's going to be back ahead of Koffler, who brakes as late as he possibly can into the corner and goes through. Goes through, goes wide, goes off. And back onto the road in third place. So Koffler threw everything at that, but he just couldn't stop the car in time. Out wide he went and gives the place back to Benjamin Ricci. But while that's been going on, look, Ludovic Bardet has scarpered up the road. All of a sudden, he has disappeared. So number 1, Stinus Longchamp has caught back up to the queue. All of a sudden, the pace has recovered, seemingly. Look, I know they've been squabbling, but he's right back with them. So Longchamp clearly has a problem. Whatever it is, he's trying to drive around it. He's back onto the tail of Rossina. He's back up the inside and goes through. So Stinus Longchamp goes by. Whatever it is, he's managed to flick a switch or reset something, and all of a sudden that car's woken up, hasn't it? So he's regained 1 place. The other one that we need to be worried about is Beltois, who from pole is 6th and has never looked competitive really since the race got underway. Shuffled out on the first couple of corners, and he has stayed shuffled. So there, number 1, Stinus Longchamp back up in a 4th place. And again, look, Benjamin Ricci goes wide, and that enables Reinhard Koffler to challenge on the inside line up towards turn 12. They almost touch, but Koffler goes through in the KTM. Ricci wide. Here comes Longchamp, look, in this rejuvenated Audi that's caught up, and he's right back alongside. Couldn't quite do it. Benjamin Ricci is under attack yet again. So Badet leading Koffler, and Benjamin Ricci, who's been up and down like an elevator in this thus far, is in third, ahead of Longchamp, the recovering yellow Audi, fourth. That car looked like it was in real trouble a lap ago, and on this lap, there it is, back at the races. Badet, however, is more good day because he's pulling away inexorably now, 3.2 seconds. The margin over Reinhard Koffler, Benjamin Ricci in third. And then number 1 Audi in fourth place, having either cleared the problem or now Longchamp being able to drive around the problem, but the car looking much, much more competitive than it did earlier on. Really lively first stint to this race. There, number 1, Stinus Longchamp turns through. And up front, Ludovic Badet trying to build this gap all the while. Koffler in second spot, Ricci third, Longchamp fourth. In Am, by the way, Leonardo Guarini still leads. So the Leonardo Guarini Porsche clear of the traffic for the moment. Partly helped, of course, by Aurelius Rustica having to come up from the back, and then the other cars in Am, Sedi Sarmini, Jan Krabec, having had their problems earlier on. A drive-through for Krabec, Sarmini having had a spin and then a cutout at this part of the circuit on the warming up lap. So Leonardo Guarini, the Am class leader, looking pretty dominant at the moment. Aurelius Rustica's Porsche, which has been put back to full health after yesterday's incontinence, that is second in class. So it's a Porsche 1-2 in Am. There is Anthony Beltoise. He's going to be a man to talk to, I would have thought, at the end of the first stint, because that car just has not come alive. Whether it's the fact that it's not set up properly for this intermediate track surface, he'll tell us. But Reinhard Koffler is now the quickest man on the circuit there, and he is 2.7 seconds behind Ludovic Badet. Third is Ricci, fourth is Longchamp in the Audi that looks like it's got some of its pace back. They're going through is Stinus Longchamp then. So the car that he shares with Peter Koolings, last year's Pro-Am champion, is Stinus Longchamp. This year teaming up with Peter Koolings. Nicholas Salins was his co-driver last year. Of course, now they split teams and are rivals on track. Number 1 Audi then turning through. So Longchamp fourth, and the road continuing to dry, continuing to get quicker. Lap by lap, just about every sector is an improvement, whether it's a personal best or an absolute best from a driver, but the road getting faster and faster all the time. There, number 1, Stinus Longchamp, inching up onto the back of Benjamin Ricci. Now, what about Reinhard Koffler? He's taken 3 tenths out of Badet in the first sector of this lap. He's taken another 10th out in the second sector, but Ricci has gone 3 tenths quicker than the leader. So, again, each car, quicker sector, quicker sector, quicker sector, road getting drier all the time. The confidence is coming as well in the drivers. The tyre temperatures are coming up, the grip is improving, and we are just under 5 minutes off the pit window opening as the leaders come by. These drivers have had all sorts of track surfaces to cope with this weekend. It was very wet Friday for testing. Dry yesterday until the oil went down. A damp circuit today, but it's drying and therefore is changing again. You can see that dry line coming down towards turn 1, but appreciate the problem that the drivers have. If you want to overtake, you go onto the wetter part of the road. But when the sun breaks through here, it's been very warm all weekend. 5th and 6th, KTM versus Audi, Rossina versus Beltoise. Benjamin Ricci, fastest lap of the race now in 3rd place. He hustles on behind Koffler. There is Beltoise, but he's still not close enough to make a move. He's closer, I'll grant you, but he's not near enough to think about overtaking as yet. So 67 Audi goes through, that being Anthony Beltoise. And Beltoise 6th, but now having to rely on Henri Hassan. Now Ludovic Badet, remember, is going to have to serve an extra 10 seconds by winning yesterday's race on the pit stops. There in 2nd spot, Reinhard Koffler. That car doesn't have to serve any extra time, and hopefully today won't have to make an extra pit stop by getting within the window. Benjamin Ricci's Mercedes, an extra 5 seconds, and Stinus Longchamp, triple winner this year for Peter Koolings, that doesn't have any extra time in the pits either. So it could, in other words, be a rather different order after the pit stops, give us another interesting second stint of the race as Beltoise now edges closer to the back of Rossina's KTM. So the race leaders go by. That's 9 laps in the book now. Turns number 67, Anthony Beltoise once again. Leonardo Guarini still well clear within the AMP contest. He was third yesterday. So 7 seconds for Guarini after a spin in yesterday's race will be served on that pit stop. Longchamp still pushing. Fastest lap to Koffler again. He's got the gap down, 2 seconds now between him and Badet. So he should inherit the lead, or Martin Koch, as the co-driver, should leave the pits in the lead, given the extra time that will have to be served by number 87, the race leading Mercedes. Now Reinhard Koffler last time around, having lost a little bit of time in the middle sector, still did an improved lap time, which was the fastest of the race. He's done an absolute best in the first sector on this lap, so the middle sector is the longest of the lap. If you're going to lose time anywhere, it is on that very, very long section of the circuit. There is Koffler. It's a personal best, although an absolute best in the middle has just been done by Badet, so he's trying to respond. But it's as though one driver does a good lap, message gets through to his rival, who then does a good lap, message gets through to the other driver, who responds, and they trade the fastest lap time. Koffler then up towards the line, chasing Ludovic Badet. Both of them former single-seater guns in their youth, come over the line. Now here's the fight for 5th. This is Rossina versus Beltoise. Stefan Rossina, very good Porsche racer in the Porsche Super Cup in the early noughties. Goes by, goes into turn 1 with Beltoise, triple Carrera Cup France champion, bearing down on him, but for the moment unable really to make a move. Now is Beltoise going to throw caution to the wind, or bearing in mind that the pit window will be open by the end of this lap, is he going to try and get through on the pit stops? Well, they've got to serve an extra 7 seconds, of course, the Audi team, so he will drop further back when Henri Hassad takes over. And there, out of turn 5 they come, heading up the hill. 6 beckons, the left-hander. Here in super slow-mo, you can see Stinus Longchamp attacking those low curves, those motorcycle-friendly curbs, coming through turns 9 and 10. And Stinus Longchamp, again, lines the car up, rides the curb, but that's fine for track limits because he's got 2 wheels on the racetrack. And Stinus Longchamp then in 4th, ought to gain on the pit stops, and the pit window is going to be open in just over 20 seconds time. So 1 or 2 clever drivers might bail this time. There's a good fight going on for 7th, incidentally. Leonardo Guarini and Mattia Di Giusto have got themselves together. Porsche and Audi running nose to tail. Here, however, is KTM versus Audi running nose to tail. And out of turn 12 they come, so it is just Rossina ahead of Beltoise. Anthony Beltoise has been chipping away. Right, into the pit straight comes Ludovic Badet. The pit window opens now, so he's gone by, pit in, so has Koffler. Ricci stays out, Longchamp stays out, and so also de Rossina and Beltoise. So none of the leading 6 come in this time, but arguably they're all the quicker drivers anyway, so it makes sense for these drivers to stay out that little bit longer. I also know exactly what the track conditions are like now, so exploit that to the very end of the stint. We've got Mattia Di Giusto up ahead of Leonardo Guarini, so that change has happened. I was mentioning it a moment ago, but it has now happened for 7th place. Di Giusto's Audi, the car that he shares with Stefan Rattel, going ahead of soloist Leonardo Guarini. Into the pit lane comes Aurelius Rustica, the first of the regulation pit stops to give way to Mantas Janovicius. Porsche comes in, and down the pit lane there the team at Heavy Motors await. So the distinctive lollipop to get the driver's attention. Aurelius Rustica stops on his marks, and the Lithuanian driver will, in a moment, hopefully jump clear. Team rush around to help him. Car needs to be empty, and then the co-driver gets in. Meantime, Anthony Beltoise on the back here of Stefan Rossina. The 2 of them come through nose to tail then, coming out of turn 10 again, turn 11 now, nose to tail towards 12. Beltoise waiting to see whether or not there's a chance. There is, because off the road goes the KTM, and finally the road opens up for him. So Beltoise nips around the outside line, gains the place, or does he? He's on the wrong line, the car's all twitches, it squirrels its way down towards turn 14, and neither of them head for the pit lane, so the battle carries on. and none of the leading group either have pitted ahead. So the leading 6 have all stayed out for another lap. De Giusto is in 7th place, so Beltoire's there, given an opportunity, but it did not come to pass. Good recovery by Rossi, who just slithered off the road ever so briefly, but Beltoire's on the outside line, ran out of traction. He's still damp there. You've seen the proof of it from both of them, and therefore it didn't work out for him. And the net result is he's sitting at the back of the KTM once again, looking for a way by. Now the race leaders are currently working lap number 13, and Ludovic Badet from Reinhard Koffler. The gap's crept up once again. And now we've got to a point where actually, having talked about all these improving sector times, they're not quite so common. That's Martin Koch getting ready to go. And Martin Koch is set to get on board, but you can anticipate Reinhard Koffler may well do as much drive time as he can, a bit like the other drivers who are the faster of the two in these Pro-Am combination cars. Beltoire's, who's never really been able to sparkle in this stint and recover the lost time, is, in these last few minutes of the stint, looking a bit more combative. Whether the Audi has had a real problem after the rough-up early on, Gemma might be able to ask, but the pace of the car, real or true, has just not been as good. So the leaders through once again, and into the pit lane en masse come 5th and 6th, though Rossina for Salens and Beltoire's for Hassan both come in. So Anthony Beltoire's, who stared at the back of the KTM for most of the stint, stares at it down the pit lane as well. And down the pit lane they come. Remember that the Audi was second yesterday, so we'll wait for a further 7 seconds on top of the regulation 116, whereas the KTM, which was outside the top 3 yesterday, does not have any extra time to serve. Martin Koch gets ready. The Audi still can't even get ahead in the pit lane because its pit box is the wrong side of the KTM. So out gets a rather frustrated Beltoire's. The walk there is more of a trudge, isn't it? He doesn't exactly leap out of the car, so not overly happy. So frustration for Luca Piri's team, and maybe he'll tell all to Gemma in due course. In the meantime, at the other end of the pit lane, the KTM stop goes through, and that now puts Nicholas Salens into the car. Mantas Janovicius has just gone through shot in the portion that he's taken over from Aurelius Rustica. So there is Ludovic Badet, who's consolidated the race lead, although all of a sudden Benjamin Ricci has just done an absolute best in the first sector. So slightly quirky the way that lap times are being offered up. Through goes the leader again and stays out, as does Koffler. And what about Ricci Jr.? Benjamin Ricci also stays on the racetrack, and Stinus Longchamp does likewise behind him. So through they go. Ludovic Badet has just done the fastest lap of the race as well, so once again suggesting that it's drying out, and maybe a little dip in the temperature because it's clouded over slightly. It's just helped the way that the engines are performing. So the Audi having to wait longer than the KTM. The KTM is good to go as soon as 116 seconds have elapsed. So Nicholas Salens gets away. So for the moment then, the True Racing squad can relax, and 7 seconds later, away goes Henri Hassad. Back into the race goes number 67, Audi. We've also got Leonardo Guarini into the pit lane. He's got another 7 seconds to serve as well, but he's a solo driver, so the benefit for him is he knows exactly what's coming. Now, I was getting concerned in that stint about Anthony Beltoire's and the relative pace of number 67 Audi. You've got Jan Krabic coming into the pit lane, by the way, but we can possibly unravel Anthony Beltoire's dramas. He's with Gemma.
Antoine, that looked like a difficult stint for you.
Yes, I was very safe at the beginning of the race because I don't want to crash the car. The target is to give the car to my teammate, Henri. So very safe, maybe a little bit too safe at the beginning. And after, my pace was really good. I tried to overtake the KTM, but it's very difficult. The guys drive very well. So, yeah, it was funny.
And now for Henri, just needs to push. There's no problem on the car, nothing at all.
Exactly, now you have to push maximum you can.
Thank you very much.
And that is Mathieu Di Giusto in the gravel in Sector 3. That's at turn 12. And the Audi doing it all on its own. That's the car that Stefan Rattel would want to take over, but Mathieu Di Giusto is in the gravel, and this, I fear, will be a safety car to get that out of the way. So Di Giusto has been frantically spinning the wheels. All it's done is dig himself a bit deeper into the pit lane now. Look, comes number 17, which is Dani Pedrosa. So the former motorcycle racer, champion, and KTM test and development rider, now driver for KTM, comes down pit lane. We've seen him in Lamborghini Super Trofeo in the past as well, so he's done quite a bit of car racing, but never really a full commitment to a season. Pedrosa comes in, he will give that car over to Hubert Trunkenpolz, who is the T of KTM, or at least his uncle was. He was one of the founders of the KTM company. Now, there's a snatch vehicle on its way to get to Di Giusto's car. 22 minutes, pit window is open, but I wonder whether the race officials might wait for the window to close, then they've got an order, and then they can, with the window being shut, then they can get the safety car out, move the Di Giusto car, and it's less confusing all round, and actually various teams wouldn't lose out. Bade comes in, Dani Pedrosa, the diminutive Dani Pedrosa. You can tell motorbike racers, can't you? Red flag is being shown on the timing screen. Red flag on the start and finish line. So the red flag is out during the pit window. So rather than a safety car, the race has been stopped. So the cars that are serving the pit stops will complete them, and we await news as to in what order they will resume. And indeed who has won and who has lost out of all of that, but that's a very unusual situation to have a red flag for just one car in the gravel. You would expect normally the safety car to cover that. 2 minutes time, the window would have closed, and then you could have got the car out of the way. So there's the car in the pit lane. So the Audi and the gravel being retrieved. There the Mercedes are being refueled. But all of this now turns the whole complexion of the race upside down. Anthony Beltoir's Audi that Henri Hassad is driving has arrived on the start line and stops. The team's now trying to work out what they can do, what needs to happen. So Martin Koch will get on board and then join the queue of cars at pit exit, ready to go back out. But a straight red flag, no safety car first, just a straight stoppage. Into the KTM gets Martin Koch. So drivers now not quite sure whether they're coming down the pit lane or staying on the track. There are no marshals on the circuit to indicate either way, as far as I can see. So might take a little bit of time, this, to get everybody sorted out and resume the race. Anyway, resume it will in due course. The pit window had 2 minutes before it closed, and the race stopped. There is Henri Hassad. He's been across the line. There was nobody to stop him, so he's carried on. Leonardo Guarini likewise in the Porsche, but as I just said, with no marshals on track to indicate that they should stop or go to the pit lane, the drivers are being left to their own devices here. So now one would assume that an order from race control needs to be issued. That will be the restart order, and either the race will resume from the pits or they'll be brought round to the grid and restart from there. But for the moment, we await confirmation. The race with the teams in the pit lane now. Some cars being pushed back to the teams. Mattia Di Giusto's car out of the gravel. Slightly confuses me that the car is towed all the way through the gravel rather than put onto the track and then scoop down the escape road, but I'm sure the officials that do this regularly here know what they're doing. 9:11 and 67, so Henri Hassad and Leonardo Guarini, red flag procedure under investigation, but I think that was just them being baffled as to what they were meant to be doing. But anyway, they're going to be looked at. Right, let's go to the pit lane. Gemma might be able to shed light on life for us.
Ludovic, first of all, that was a great stint from you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because yesterday we win with the good pace in race, but today we start 5th on the grid, and on the inside corner it was a little bit wet, and we were not on the good lane, but after a good start I find my pace and a good rate all the race. And I preserve the tires for my gentleman, and I hope it will be a very good race and he make a lot of pleasure.
Well, we saw you just having a bit of a chat with Jerome, of course, the team manager down here at Agodas. What were you guys talking about?
Yeah, you know, Jerome knows very well the driver, and sometimes he can say this guy is very fast, but nobody thinks it's possible. But Jerome knows all the time. He has reason, and it's a very good team manager, and I'm really happy and I'm very lucky to drive for him.
And now just quickly about this red flag, there's a little bit of confusion, people not knowing quite where to stop. Do you know what's going on?
No, we don't know yet. Normally we will start first, but we don't know for the penalty, for the pit stop penalty, we don't know. We will see at the end of the race. I think we cannot know the result before.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
See
bye.
you later.
So indeed, an element of confusion, but the teams then will bring the cars back to the pit lane. There's the car that caused the stoppage, which was the 88 Mattia Di Giusto Audi.
So due to the red flag procedures, I cannot give an advantage to the car that did already the pit stop. So we went red flag and we will restart with the cars in the order before the pit window open.
So the order will be before the pit window opened. In other words, at the 20 minutes completed mark, we've now done 28 minutes, so this is going to take a little bit of sorting out, but it's going to put the Mercedes back into the race lead, isn't it, of Ludovic Badet. So it'll be there, the safety car you can see will bring them from the pit lane and accelerate in due course onto the circuit. But the restart order then from before the safety car, sorry, before the pit window opened. So what you're going to have is the gaps closed and different drivers on board. So 87 Mercedes should go to the front of the queue. So now that is Jean-Luc Bobelic. Martin Koch would be next. Then in third place, Mauro Ricci. Cars being brought round now to the grid. Oh, no, just down the pit lane, so there's a bit more space for number one, which is now Peter Gulinks in fourth place.
5 minutes.
5 minutes before the safety car leads them away. Fifth will be number 16, which is now going to be Klaus Angerhofer. No, that can't be right, can it? That should be the Nicholas Salen's KTM, because that was there before the pit window opened. So 15 ought to be next in the queue, which will now go to, yes, Nicholas Salen's, having taken it over from Stefan Rossina. There's number 16, Sedi Sarmini, being held. And Jean-Luc Bobelic is at the head of the queue, ready for the resumption of the race. After Nicholas Salen's, there will be Henri Hassad, then there will be Leonardo Guarini, the leading AM. 16 laps had been shown as being completed before we had the red flag. So last bit of attention down in the pit lane before the cars are released to the circuit. So as the 5 minutes before the cars are brought back on track counts down, drivers await instruction, and again the safety car just edging forward a little bit, partly so that more of them can join the line, but also because we're not that far, I think, now on getting the cars back on track. Mathieu Di Gusto's car, Stefan Rattel at the wheel of it, is the next one to join the queue. So that's given a reprieve, if you like, being brought back into the race. Right, let's hear from Mathieu Di Gusto with Gemma.
Mathieu, first of all, what happened out there?
I was pushing and I touched the curb, and then the car just was, I lost the rear. I tried to get out of trouble, but I was stuck. So I'm sorry to the team and to Stefan. I tried my best, and at the beginning was very difficult for the conditions. We had low pressure on front tires. I had to push more, but I hadn't got the feeling. Then it came in, and I was catching the front group, but it's, you know, when you're at the limit, this happens, so I'm sorry. That's all okay. What can I say?
Like you say, it is racing, but there we've seen Stefan getting back into the car, so he's able to restart under this new procedure here of going back to the pre-pit window positions, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing. So nothing is lost, and we will see the second part of the race how it comes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So Mathieu Di Gusto, after this incident, put the car in the gravel. And the car's ready to go. So, 5-minute countdown given. The new drivers in the cars, the gaps all reduced.
1 minute, safety car procedure, safety car procedure.
And a safety car restart, as you hear. So it'll be the safety car to lead them around. And the clock will start as it rejoins. Lights on top of the safety car, so it will be, in a moment, instructed to move away, bring the cars back on track. So we will be back in business very shortly.
Safety car, go.
Right, there's the instruction from the race director. Safety car, go. Go, it has gone. So, restart beckons, and of course the clock carries on now. So, down the pit lane they go. There is the Aurelius Rustica Porsche. So, it is Bade having given way to Bobelik in the lead. Koch is in second. Mauro Ricci is third. In fourth place, Stina Solangean. Fifth now, Nicolas Salin. Sixth is Henri Hassaz. Seventh is Gorini. Eighth place is Rattel. In ninth place now, number 17. KTM, Hubert Trunkenpolz, then it's Aurelius Rustica, then it is the Klaus Angerhofer KTM, and that's going to put Jan Krabech in 89 at the back of the queue. Safety car in at the end of this lap to get things back underway. So the order being put to was prior to the window opening. And the clock carries on ticking down. So they're going to have round about 19 minutes, maybe a little bit less by the time that the green flags fly once again. So Jean-Luc Bobelic, who would have served 10 seconds in the pits, has been able to kind of have that negated. In fact, in essence, all the pit stop times have been negated because the order is as it was before the window and all the gaps have come right down. So those that were expecting to benefit by not having success time to serve have lost out. Those that did have it to serve have benefited.
Safety car lines off. Safety car will enter the pit lane at the end of this lap.
So the safety car is in, the green lights are back on, and we are in business with 19 and 3/4 minutes to go as Jean-Luc Bobelic powers down towards turn 1 in the lead of the race then, with Martin Koch in second place and already on his toes there. Look, diving up the inside and running out of road, Nicholas Salins. He's up the inside of Langevin's car, and Peter Gulick sees him come and sees him go. Out wide into the gravel goes Nicholas Salins. He's going to get himself back on the road, but rather badly delayed, and he's going to fall into penultimate place. So Nicholas Salins undoes the good work of Stefan Rossina. There, number 1 then, is Peter Gulick's, and behind is Henri Hassad, who is busy trying to get himself back up into contention. So Bobelic and Koch, the top 2, Mercedes versus KTM. There, together, number 1 Audi, but Henri Hassad looking a little bit more racy than was Anthony Beltoise.
Car 67 and car 911 for disrespecting the red flag procedure.
Well, you've heard it. They did an extra lap rather than coming into the pit lane, and so they're being given a drive-through penalty. So Henri Hassad there with Leonardo Guarini with him is going to get a drive-through. Guarini is the other man that will serve the penalty. So the 2 now penalised cars, that's going to go down really badly, I would have thought, with both teams, because it was rather hard to know where the cars were meant to be. They were on track. Nobody waved them to the pit lane. It may have been in radio instruction that they didn't adhere to, but there were certainly no marshals waved them to the pit lane. As there, 67, Henri Hassad comes down now towards the end of the lap, and that's Martin Koch, who's been out wide at turn 14 and gives Jean-Luc Bobelic an even bigger run up towards the line. Third place now, Peter Gulick's, and 4th, for what little good it's going to do them, Henri Hassad. There is Mauro Ricci dropping back in the queue. And in 6th place is Leonardo Guarini, but a penalty is due for him. Martin Koch, having slithered off the road at turn 14, now given a track limit warning for it. And Henri Hassad on the back of Peter Gulick's, the 2 Audis together. There is Guarini, whose lead in and is about to be unravelled by this penalty. Stefan Rattel going through behind. He's working his way up the order as well, having moved up past Klaus Angerhofer. So Angerhofer is ready to inherit the lead of AM after Guarini serves his penalty, but for the moment that Porsche looking very rapid, isn't it? Right up with Mauro Ricci with now 17 minutes still on the clock. So the 2 Audis run together with Martin Koch falling away a little bit from the leading Mercedes. So the KTM second falling away, but not yet into the clutches of the 2 Audis. They are close, but in a sense delaying each other by battling. Henri Hassad, if he's got the message now, he's going to be very cross about it indeed. We wait to see number 67 Audi serve that drive-through. Up towards the line he comes, stays out for another tour. There, Stefan Rattel also on the ragged edge, very nearly making contact with the KTM coming up towards the line. So Angerhofer gets back ahead of him, and also now Aurelius Rustica goes through as well. So the leaders go by. Rattel falls back into 10th spots with the Rustica, now Janovicius Porsche having gone through, and also Jan Krabech by also. To the back of the queue drops Hubert Trunkenpolz, but poor old Stefan, having had one moment, running a bit wide. He's also got a track limit warning for it, just to add insult to injury. That's cost him a whole heap of places. His son Max made his race debut last week at Brands Hatch in the Ginetta Academy. And now Dad on track again in GT2 in the LP racing car with Capiri's squad. So now Stefan trying to go after the traffic, go after Jan Krabec, who of course was penalised earlier on with the drive-through for going off the road on that formation lap after he then overtook to get places back. The drive-through penalties have yet to be served. The board, the electronic notification telling everybody that those penalties are there. And there, going over the curb, is the Audi in the hands of Peter Gulinks. Right, so now Gulinks is closing on Koch. The KTM falling back just a little bit, and Jean-Luc Bobelic is building the lead. Now you can see it, so the leader goes by, but behind, second, third, fourth, pretty close. So Koch dropping away from the leader, being caught by Gulinks. That last lap for the KTM was a 38.1 and a 36.3 for Gulinks in the Audi, so he's definitely closing. They're going through, Leonardo Gorini. Staying on the back of Peter Gulinks, yet to serve that drive-through. Now, is the team arguing about it, or has the message not yet got through, or is he just so focused he's not bothering to do it? Either way, normally when a drive-through penalty is notified, you can't argue about it, it's done. But Hassan is staying out, he's determined to get ahead of Gulinks before he has to come into the pit lane, coming out of turn 7 on the inside line. He goes through on the inside. Deep into turn 8, he's got the job done. So Peter Gulinks does go by. And that puts in, sorry, Henri Hassad goes by Peter Gulinks. That puts Hassad up into third place. Gorini in the gravel over on the outside of turn 8, well in the gravel. So number 911 Porsche brings out the yellows, but could here bring out the safety car again, couldn't it? And also in the gravel has got number 15, Nicholas Salens. We saw him off the road at turn 1. He got away with that, but he's had another moment. Now, where has that dropped him off the racetrack? That's coming down the hill the other side, I think. That's coming out of turn 8, and he's rotated all the way around. Now, did the two of them get themselves together? Gorini in the Porsche is ahead of Salens, who dives up the inside, kapow. That gets rid of the Porsche. Salens accelerates out of the corner, and the back goes around, and off he goes into the gravel there. So 2 cars in the gravel now, which looks very sort of inevitable for a safety car, doesn't it? 2 of them in the same part of the world. If you've had a red flag for 1, then surely we're going to end up with something for 2. So 12.5 minutes are on the clock. Here is the battle going on for second place, but there is a certain amount of verisimilitude in this fight, in as much as the third place car, remember, has got to make a drive-through penalty. So it's a real fight in a sense, it's a phony fight in another. Through they turn, up towards turn 10, the KTM ahead of the penalised Audi, and still the yellow flags fly in that second sector. Snatch vehicles are on their way. And there, the move for second place on the inside line. Henri Hassad goes through, and Peter Gulinks lines up to get past Martin Koch also, and goes by. So easily done there. The 2 Audis jump ahead of the KTM. Right, that out of the car is then Nicholas Salens. So that's on the inside of the road coming down the hill. Looking over the back part of the circuit, Gorini's Porsche still sitting in the gravel. The incident in question is going to be investigated. Gorini now doesn't have to worry about his drive-through because he's out of the race, but Hassan does, because he's still not served it. And the race, albeit with the yellow flags, continues. So interesting, isn't it, how the decisions are made, that 1 car in the gravel triggered a red, but at the moment we've got 2 cars off. And although the yellows are showing, and of course people do have to slow down, the race is still underway. So we've got now 11 minutes on the clock. And the safety car is now being called for. So the boards have gone out and the safety car now has been shouted for. Dani Pedrosa looks on. Safety car scrambled once more. So safety car will be on track. This for the leader is the end of lap 23, and the leader is Jean-Luc Bobelic. And Henri Hassad in second spot. But still to serve the drive-through. I think it's going to be a bit to unravel after this. There are other teams wondering why a car has lost a lap. So we've got Jan Krabec, for example, and I think possibly one other being shown as having been a lap down. And the teams are wondering why, because they haven't been lapped. So it's quite a lot for the officials to try and unravel post-race here. Anyway, we're behind the safety car again. We've got less than 10 minutes of the race remaining. And there you've got 87, the race leading Mercedes. And that red flag and the way that the race has been resumed and the order certainly gave them a get out of jail free card with the 10-second penalty they would have had in the pit lane, the success compensation time being negated completely. So as the field comes then now catching the safety car up towards turn 6, the clock ticks on down. The 2 cars are being recovered. Snatch vehicles are on the scene. The KTM there for Nicholas Salins. So he was saying pre-race about how slippery it was. Well, in a way, the road drier now, but it's certainly caught him out. He had that moment at turn 1, and then a further drama, as you've seen, with the Porsche. So is it going to be 2 out of 2, which will be a great weekend for Jean-Luc Bobelic and Ludovic Badet. And Henri Hassad still to serve that drive-through penalty. So that would effectively bring into the mix number 1, Peter Gulling's Audi in 3rd place, and Mauro Ricci's Mercedes to have a go at Martin Koch, I would have thought, before the end as well. So that drive-through penalty issued on the timing screen. It's been on the electronic board over the start line as well. The lighting gantry has a message line on it, so the number has been flashing. That's now been replaced for the moment with the SC legend. But it's not like the team doesn't know about it, and Hassad comes across the line then in 2nd spot. So Bobelic leads. 7 minutes remain. And there is Henri Hassad, 67 the number, and that drive-through penalty because the car didn't come into the pit lane, it did an extra lap under the red flag. The reason for that kind of doesn't really matter. The fact that it did it is what's incurred the penalty. As I say, the team might be arguing about it. They might be trying to get to the end and then argue post-race, but it's a gamble, that, very definitely. And normally you've got to take it within 3 passings of the timing line once that penalty is issued. So there's Leonardo Guarini's car out of the gravel. Guarini driving it back on the escape road, very frustrated, but Guarini is moving again, and the KTM of Nicholas Salins put behind the barrier. So I think the road is clear. Can the lights be extinguished on the safety car this time? I reckon they probably could. So safety car is indeed in at the end of this lap. 6 minutes on the clock. It'll be about 5 when we get them back to start-finish line. it's one of the few places where your start and finish lines are pretty similar. But the timing line closer to the exit of the last corner. So, safety car continues. Leonardo Guarini has made it back to the pit lane. He'll be followed down the pit lane by the safety car this time. And so Jean-Luc Beaubelique gets ready to accelerate away once again. So we have just over 5 minutes to go, 5 minutes and 10 seconds as the cars go underneath the gantry, then over the line, the lights go back to green. And so Henri Hassan still hasn't served the drive-through. He still runs in second place. Up towards turn 2 they come then. In third spot, you've got the yellow Audi of Peter Gulinks and Martin Koch in fourth place, but he's been dropping away. So now that the pack is all bunched up behind him, expect Mauro Ricci to be able to make a move as well. Through goes Gulinks, through goes Koch in the black and green KTM. Mauro Ricci is behind him, and Henri Hassan now having a go at Jean-Luc Beaubelique. It's a kind of phony war in a way, given that there's that Damocletian drive-through for Henri Hassan, yet to be taken, but he's still pushing as he comes now down towards turn 8 then. The Audi closing right up onto the tail of the Mercedes. They drop down the hill once again. In third spot remains Peter Gulinks. And the Audi driver has been 3 times a winner this year, Peter Gulinks. 2 wins to Henri Hassan and Anthony Beltoise, but they've been banking points. So let's see what this does for Gulinks, because I would offer you he's getting closer and closer all the time now to Henri Hassan ahead. He's looking ever more races, the Peter Gulinks. The cars wriggle their way up towards turn 13 on this 20th lap of the race, and that is Jan Krabec making a move to try to get himself up on the inside line. He's been given a lap back, incidentally, so he's very much in the fight, and he's gone ahead there of Janavicius coming down towards turn 14. So this now becomes a proper battle for position. The Porsche has lots of grunt in a straight line, gets back level with the KTM as they come down towards turn 1. Jan Krabec brakes late at the inside, hangs on to the place. Good racing between the two of them. So 3 minutes are on the clock as the race leaders go through. 0.6 of a second it is between the two. And right now, Martin Koch there has got Mauro Ricci closing on him, and then Jan Krabec, the AM leader. So despite the drive-through, the red flag situation has really helped him here. So although the race director was saying that he was putting the order back to pre-window order, so people weren't disadvantaged, inevitably some are, because it's played into the hands of others. And so Jan Krabec is one of those that's most definitely won on the restart process, and he's up into 6th overall now, and could be 5th in a moment, getting himself onto the back of Mauro Ricci here. That little KTM going very, very nicely indeed. Up the inside, coming out of turn 11, goes Krabec. Ricci forced out wide. The KTM has got the line for the next corner at turn 12, flick right. And then it's left into that long arc of 13, and Ricci on the curve is delayed, and that is Mantas Janavicius trying to go past him, but he can't quite do it. Janavicius slots in again behind. There is the recovered Leonardo Guarini, so pulled out of the gravel, he's been allowed to rejoin. Klaus Angerhofer running with him, but they're many laps apart, of course, after the earlier dramas. The leaders have gone through. 2 more laps, they can squeeze out of the race now. So it remains Beaubelique to Hassan, 0.6 of a second. And what happens post-race to Henri Hassan for not taking the drive-through, we'll have to wait and see. The gap is a modest one, but Jean-Luc Beaubelique not cracking under the pressure. Henri Hassan, very experienced racer as well, whether it's been in single-seaters, going back best part of 3 decades, to GT cars, to sports prototypes. Been there, done it, and right on the tail. It's a battle for position, this, but whether or not Beaubelique puts up a fight, given that there's the penalty to apply to the Audi, remains to be seen. Into turn 8 they come. 1 more lap to run at the end of this. The Mercedes goes deep, the Audi closes. Out the other side, down now towards turns 9 and 10, flick through that little S into the hairpin. And Jean-Luc Boberlic needing to be careful here, not to run too wide, which he does not. He's okay, covers the line off. And right there behind him is Henri Hassan as they flick again into turn 12. Last lap coming up. One assumes the team has told Hassan about the drive-through. If not, then it could be a real strife at the end of the race. One more lap to run then. So Jean-Luc Boberlic looking as though the win is going to be his. He comes over the timing line now then with off the road Jan Krabec. That's at turn 12. Well, we had a red flag when we had a car there before, and it's in exactly the same place as we had off the road earlier on Sedi Samini. So Jan Krabec out of the race, and that puts Mantas Janovicius into the lead of Am. It's going to bring up into second in Am Klaus Angerhofer, and it'll be a yellow flag zone on this last lap of the race then. So the KTM in exactly the same place as we lost one earlier on in the race, and now the cars turn through. It was the Matthew Di Gusto Audi, wasn't it, forgive me, that was in the gravel there earlier. Same part of the racetrack. It was the KTM that we lost at that corner yesterday, which was on the oil. But Jan Krabec, after a really good drive off the road, and that throws away a class win. Right now, heading out of turn 8, Jean-Luc Boberlic is ahead of Henri Hassan. The win beckons for the Mercedes drivers. 2 out of 2 is very difficult to achieve when you've got the compensation pit stops, but it's going to pan out beautifully for the Acodis ASP team here, seemingly, because looking very strong indeed is the Mercedes, especially now with a yellow flag covering off any chance of a challenge there from Henri Hassan. So Boberlic with 13 and 14 to go. Turn 13 keeps on going. You drop down the hill to turn 14. Nose to tail they come. Henri Hassan tries to squirt up the inside, but he can't do it. The Mercedes has the drag off the corner. 2 out of 2 in Fanatec GT2 European Series goes the way of Jean-Luc Boberlic and Ludovic Badet. Provisionally second, certainly across the line, Anthony Beltoise and Henri Hassan, but I would imagine that's going to promote Peter Gulings and Stinus Longchamp to second, and Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler to third. Martin Koch hanging on, in fact, ahead of Mauro Ricci. But what happens for not serving that drive-through, we'll have to wait and see. It might be that they are given a time penalty, but it might be that for not serving it at all, it's something more draconian. There is the AM winner, so good recovery after yesterday's oil squirting retirement. Mantas Janovicius and Aurelius Ristica today, with all the fluid in the car, win AM from Klaus Angerhofer and Sedi Samini in second. Jan Krabec, I would imagine, will be classified third, even though the car did not make it to the end. So bravo Jean-Luc Boberlic. Aurelius Ristica is very happy as well with a class win. I think that's his first win. He has been very unlucky over the previous seasons of racing in this championship. Used to be paired with Michael Vargas, and they had seconds, they had race leads, but never a win. But a class win here, I'm pretty sure, is the first one for Mantas Janovicius and Aurelius Ristica. So no wonder he's smiling, especially after yesterday's dramas.
Okay.
So Aurelius Ristica, a happy man now. And the race order has just been changed radically to give the win to Peter Gulings and Stinus Longchamp. So we understand that the number 67 has had his 30-second penalty added in lieu of the drive-through, and the cars that didn't serve the compensation time in the pits have had them added post-race. So Ludovic Badet and Jean-Luc Boberlic dropped to second and missed out on a win by 1 second. Now, that you could argue if they'd have pushed a bit harder, or no, they needed to push harder, they could have done so. But in the end, it is a win for Stinus Longchamp and Peter Gulings. Second, Jean-Luc Boberlic and Ludovic Badet. And third, Martin Koch and Reinhard Koffler. Fourth overall, winning AMS, Mantas Janovicius and Aurelius Ristica. Fifth, Stefan Rattel and Mathieu Di Gusto. Sixth, because they had a penalty to apply from the pits, Mauro and Benjamin Ricci. 7th, Hubert Trunkenpoltz and Danny Pedrosa ahead of Anthony Beltoise and Henri Hassad. Klaus Angerhofer and Sedi Samini 9th, Jan Krabec 10th, Leonardo Guarini 11th. So, in all sorts of ways, a slightly messy race, but Peter Gulinks and Stinus Langevin find themselves as race winners. And as I say, the corrected winning margin 1 second. So whether the teams knew that the penalties were going to be put on for the pit stops afterwards is a moot point. But had Jean-Luc Beaubelic been able to push a bit harder and pull out a 1 second margin, you never know. Having said that, it would have been very difficult to go much harder because he was busy trying to fend off Henri Hassad. So they're out of the car, rather surprised. Peter Gulinks, that's a 4th win of the year. And GT2 may not have had many cars this weekend, but we've had everything thrown at us. Rain, oil, red flags, safety cars, compensation pit stops, post-race, time penalties, you name it. It plugs out. Peter Gulinks, congratulated by Aurelius Rustica, goes to see Martin Koch. And there the drivers are ready. Peter Gulinks might be a little bit bewildered by all of that, but under the regulations, the time's added on after the pit stops, after the race. Right, Stinus Langevin's on his way. Peter Gulinks, though, is all smiles with Gemma.
Peter, congratulations. You just said, what a race. I mean, absolutely.
Thank you very much, but it was so hectic at the end. We didn't know, are we P2, are we P1, are we P3? So just kept pushing. I had a lot of error lights in the car as well. Everything was flashing red, so my ABS wasn't working. So it was very challenging, this race. But furthermore, it's even nicer to win then.
Absolutely. Congratulations to you and Stinus. I've not seen him yet. I'm sure he's on his way.
No, I think he was in doubt as well, but he's surely running this way.
Well done to both of you. Thanks, Peter.
Martin Koch in the background, putting on his helmet, the KTM driver 3rd. And we'll be a very happy Aurelius Rustica with Mantas Janovicius somewhere in all of that. So a good drive for Peter Gulinks and Stinus Langevin, certainly benefiting from the compensation times being added post-race. So well done to the Audi crew, scoring victory here in this 2nd GT2 race of the weekend. Right, let's see if we can hear from the winning AMs, Aurelius Rustica and Mantas Janovicius. They are all smiles today, at least, and they're with Gemma down in the Parc Fermé area.
Gentlemen, congratulations, a class win, a fantastic result. We'll come to you first, of course. You brought that one home.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for congrats. But actually, he did the mega job in the very beginning when it was slippery. It was, you know, messed up situation. Everyone was like betting whether to go for wets or to go for dries, and he managed to go on dries. So he managed to climb up from the very back to the middle of the pole, and then, yeah, I just brought home. So more or less, he did the job.
How tough was that first stint?
Oh, this was very tough. Super slippery. The first few laps was crazy difficult. The field for me the help the ice driving. But every year going on the Arctic, was a real like in the ice.
Fantastic racing, a great result. Well done to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
A very lively race. Let's have a look at what happened then in the GT2 European Series 2nd race, which was a fairly hectic race, no question about it. It all began on a damp, greasy road, and powering into the lead was Anthony Beltoise. But the bravest man in the house was Ludovic Badet, who came up the inside from the 3rd row of the grid and was 2nd coming out of turn 1, and he had the lead by turn 2. But then up the inside came the Audi, Stinus Langevin at the wheel. Also in the mix was Benjamin Ricci, and it was great racing for the first stint, with places being traded thick and fast. Ricci ran wide coming out of turn 14. That handed the lead back to Ludovic Badet. Reinhard Koffler in the mix as well in the KTM, and he moved himself through up into 2nd spot. Then Ricci ran wide, having briefly retaken the spot, and Koffler continuing the fight as behind them, after a little drama which cost them time, back into the mix was coming Longchamp in the number 1 Audi. But then we had the pit stop window open, some of the stops were served, and then when Matthew Di Gusto went off the road, a red flag flew, and that's when it all got very messy. Some cars had pitted, some hadn't, and it meant that on the restart, the field all bunched up with the second drivers on board, and Nicholas Salens had the first of 2 dramas. This was at turn 1, this was at turn 8. He's under investigation for causing a collision, and Leonardo Gorini, the innocent victim, having been given a real punt in the tail off the road. It ended up with this battle. Jean-Luc Boberlic fending off Henri Hassan. Boberlic would be given a 10-second penalty post-race, which was the time he would have served in the pits. Henri Hassan, a 30-second penalty for not serving his drive-through that he was given. Stinus Longchamp, Peter Gullings, the race winners.